Football is back in Brazil after the coronavirus pandemic brought it to a halt. The return is not without controversy. Brazil's main national football championship started on the same weekend the country reached 100,000 deaths related to COVID-19. Due to delays in disclosing coronavirus test results, athletes interacted without knowing they were infected. Two teams, Goiás and Imperatriz, only found out their results hours before the games, which caused their matches to be postponed. Walter Feldman is the Secretary-General of Brazil's Football Confederation.
Quando março, nós resolvemos, em sintonia com o Ministério da Saúde, paralisar todas as atividades do Brasil, inclusive os campeonatos estaduais, nós já começamos a estudar um protocolo médico de retorno. Nós avaliamos que, depois do comportamento da epidemia aqui no Brasil, com a experiência acumulada, particularmente da Europa, mas também nações espalhadas pelo mundo, de que a volta do futebol era possível.
The study for the return was conducted by more than 140 Brazilian doctors and followed Brazil's government and the World Health Organization's guidelines. Dr. Jaime Rocha was one of the infectious diseases doctors consulted by the Confederation.
We are concerned about not keeping distance, not using masks, not having hand hygiene along the game. So you have to perform tests and you have to be really restrict with clinical protocols, asking these guys daily basis if they are running symptoms, if their family is having any sort of symptoms. We are trying to minimize risks, but put it in a zero level of risk is impossible.
William, Palmeiras forward player, gets tested for COVID-19 twice a week.
E aqui dentro do clube, né, uma nova rotina, conseguimos adaptar bem. Claro que no início não é fácil, né, com relação à máscara, né, principalmente aí com algumas atividades, né, internas que a gente tem que acabar usando, mas, né, todo mundo entendendo também o protocolo e cumprindo certinho.
Brazil's main national football championship could only kick off after the completion of the State League's tournament, which reopened the Brazilian football season in June. The players of Botafogo, one of Brazil's top teams, carried a banner to the field on their first game back that reads, "A good protocol is one that respects lives." 10 people died in the Maracanã makeshift coronavirus hospital on game days at the stadium.
Respeitamos, né, sim, algumas pessoas que daqui a pouco não concordam, né, com a volta do futebol e sabemos também da importância, né, não somente por causa de nós atletas, né, mais uma vez enfatizando isso, mas por tudo também que o futebol ele gera para outras pessoas, né, não é só um benefício daqui a pouco para a televisão, para o clube, ou para os atletas, né?
Uma vida.
Walter Feldman compares moving on with games to juggling.
Você tem que, na verdade, atender de um lado, atender de outro, não deixar os pratos cair. Na minha avaliação, com toda a segurança que nós construímos através do protocolo médico, mas também com a compreensão de que era uma atividade econômica relevante, de grande impacto, tanto na geração de emprego e renda, como na perspectiva de realização do cidadão brasileiro nas suas atividades diárias, nós avaliamos qual seria o exato momento de parar e o exato momento de retomar com segurança. Nesse momento, você não retomar as atividades do futebol no Brasil seria uma atividade de omissão e, tranquilamente, de destruição daquilo que foi construído no patrimônio cultural e esportivo, que é o nosso futebol, e que por mais alguns meses não teria mais capacidade de retomar.
Football has an important role in Brazil's economy. It generates around 0.7% of the country's GDP, over $11 billion. It employs more than 150,000 workers. 13% of football players who are exported to other countries come from Brazil. With the suspension of sporting events, club sponsorships were cut back. contract payments were reduced and box office income wasn't collected.
Eu diria que é um impacto gigantesco. Nós tivemos que desembolsar mais de 130 milhões para dar uma ajuda financeira para os clubes, árbitros, federações, futebol feminino, futebol de base.
Brazil's Football Confederation recently announced it will pay men and women the same amount for representing the national team. One of the few countries to make such a pledge. It is a significant accomplishment for women's football, particularly for legendary player Marta, who has promoted equality and women's empowerment for years.
France and Brazil have arrived in Le Havre ready for their round of 16 games.
After Brazil's team was eliminated in the World Cup, Marta took the stage to deliver this speech.
E o futebol feminino depende de vocês para sobreviver. Então pense nisso, valorize mais. Chore no começo para sorrir no fim.
Marta says that she still feels the positive impact of her message.
Eu realmente senti que era um momento de expor coisas importantes principalmente para atletas jovens que sonham em viver uma vida dentro do esporte.
Brazil's football national team is widely known globally, but the state clubs are not as well known because of international broadcasting rights challenges, something Brazil's Football Confederation hopes to change.
Nós organizamos os clubes da Série A, da Série B e até da Série C e estamos concluindo a venda para todo o planeta, vinculado também ao direito de apostas. Esse é um caminho de aumento da participação no PIB e entrada de divisas externas para o futebol. Hoje, praticamente tudo que financia os nossos clubes, ou o futebol como um todo, vem do mercado doméstico. Só para dar um exemplo, a Inglaterra, 40% de todos os recursos do Reino Unido vem de fora do Reino Unido para abastecer o futebol inglês.
Here are some of the medical protocols for the ongoing games in Brazil. The traditional greeting between athletes is off limits. A minute of silence is observed. Each ball replaced should be sanitized. No more than 300 people can attend matches, including players, club staffers, executives, and the media. The Maracanã Stadium, which once recorded massive attendance of almost 200,000, hosts games practically empty.
Não é a mesma coisa jogar sem a torcida dentro do estádio. Temos que adaptar o quanto antes para essa situação. E dentro de campo é 11 contra 11, né? Nós temos nossa motivação de sobra, tá fazendo o que nós mais amamos.
Fans are filling up sports bars to watch the games. In São Paulo, people are allowed to remove their masks as long as they are seated.
I work in a hospital, you know. I'm very excited staying in a bar with friends, watching TV and football, drinking a beer. This is important to relax, forget the disease.
No one cannot stay home anymore. It's like everybody's fed up of it.
Brazil's Football Confederation is determined to fulfill its calendar, including South American tournaments, Copa Libertadores and Copa Sudamericana, plus the Brazilian Cup and other intercontinental tournaments.
Bom, nós estamos fazendo, eu diria, em termos comparativos, talvez o maior sistema de logística de retorno do futebol no mundo. São 2.455 partidas, 21 campeonatos em todo o território nacional.
The teams will be flying around a country as big as the continental United States. Players will be exposed to the risk of diseases in airports, airplanes, and hotels, and travel to places where the pandemic could be worse than in their hometowns.
Nós confiamos na segurança da malha aérea e daquilo que vem sendo feito para a proteção, da mesma forma como a chegada nos hotéis é feita de maneira muito controlada.
This is a big victory for President Jair Bolsonaro, who was rooting for the return of football. He published a photo of himself celebrating the victory of Palmeiras' team shortly after the Brazilian Health Ministry announced the country's coronavirus death toll had surpassed 100,000. In July, the president disclosed that he had tested positive for the virus.
Se lamenta todas as mortes. Vamos tocar a vida e buscar uma maneira de se safar desse problema.
For the Qatar 2022 World Cup, some qualifying games set for this year were postponed to 2021. Earlier this year, FIFA's president Gianni Infantino said it would be irresponsible to force competitions to resume when things are not 100% safe.
On our first priority, our principle, the one we will use for our competitions and encourage everyone to follow, is that health comes first. I cannot stress this enough. No match, no competition, no league is worth risking a single human life.
At the end of September, Brazil, a country of 213 million, had the second highest COVID-19 death toll in the world.
Although we may have a huge number of deaths, you have to adjust that number for the total number of population, the size of the population. If you have 10 deaths in a city with 1 million people, is something. If you have 10 deaths in a city with 10 people, it's a completely different deal, although 10 is still 10.
By the end of the third quarter of 2020, Brazil ranked 6th in the number of deaths per 100,000 population. It remains to be seen whether the safety protocols adopted by Brazil's Football Confederation will be sufficient to secure everyone's health.